4 facts. Number 1. Diablo is the second episode of Fantastic Four Season 1. It aired on September 16th, 1967 on ABC. Number 2. Errors. While the Thing is laying in bed complaining about being ugly, you can notice oddly enough that he's smiling. Number 3. It was written by Phil Hahn and Jack Hanrahan, while being produced and directed by William Hana and Joseph Barberra, the founders of Hanna-Barbera Productions. Number 4. The comic book inspiration for the story is Fantastic Four 30 by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. Diablo is accidentally released from his 100-year-old prison by the Thing, who happens to be tricked into being his slave when Diablo gives him a more human-like appearance. Diablo then goes on to act like a miracle worker around the world. Fortunately, when Diablo's miracle formula wears off, the world he wanted to conquer turns on him. This allows Reed, Sue, and Johnny to go into action against the villain's bought and paid for military. Ben's quote-unquote cure luckily wears off, giving him the ability to attack the ancient alchemist. But, in the nick of time, Diablo knocks Ben out with a sleeping potion, then puts our Rocky hero in a transparent tube that's supposed to be indestructible. Meanwhile, the rest of the FF mop up Diablo's army with relative ease, so the villain takes matters into his own hands, and gasses the team as well, landing them in their own tubes, similar to Grimm's. While Diablo gloats, the Thing awakens and destroys his unbreakable tube, and in no time the rock-skinned bruiser frees his friends while giving chase to Diablo. The team finally subdue Diablo and put him back in his ancient cell. Then the destructive duo demolishes the castle.
The Human Torch! Freedom!
And with the fiery hot flames, fuses molten rock over Diablo's prison cell.
What were your first impressions of this particular episode?
I liked it a lot, actually. They're doing a lot more with the characters. I noticed that the villain was running, physically running, throughout the different sides of the screen, I guess. We haven't seen that with anything at all. That was cool. And then we got Torch using his lasso. That's one of my favorite moves. So I thought that was really cool.
I think Johnny was handled particularly well in this episode. I love when he flames on, the animation effect of the fire. It looks like it's still crackling. Mm-hmm. It's not just frozen on him. One of my favorite shots, and it's one of the goofiest shots in the entire thing, and is when they are sitting in the castle with the old guy, and he's telling him about this Diablo legend. He says that someone of super strength will free Diablo. Thing has this open mouth gape going with big eyes, and they're all looking at him, and he goes, "I'm not freeing him. What are you talking to me for?" Yes, the animation was good. The art was way better in this one than in the original one. The poses by Diablo were very Kirby striking.
Yeah.
The castle itself, Ben goes, "This is right out of Frankenstein," clearly had the Universal horror movie appeal. You could tell that the artists were attempting to make a connection between Diablo and Dracula. What did you think of Sue's handling in this particular episode?
I think she played more of a supportive role in this episode. We didn't see too much. I feel the big thing she did was when Torch was about to get struck with the paralyzing ray or whatever it was.
Yeah, the stasis ray.
I swear it looked like she was flying. I'm not sure if she was or not. She comes up behind the two dudes and then just smacks their head together. I thought that was pretty funny.
She's not flying. At this point, she does have her force field. Mm-hmm. In the Hanna-Barbera cartoon show, she always has the force field. It's not the same as the comic. The comic, it didn't happen until episode 21 or whatever it was with the Mole Man, 21, 22.
Yeah.
She was basically standing on her force field. It does look like she's flying. And I think they did that intentionally.
Yeah, it definitely looked like she was flying. I was confused.
She had a strong support role here. You're correct, because she scolds Ben when Ben has lost it, when he's under Diablo's power as she's freeing Reed's arms. She seems to basically mother the rest of them.
Yeah, that's what I noticed in this episode.
Mr. Fantastic himself.
In the last couple episodes, it's been a lot about the Thing and Torch. So I'm hoping to see more Reed Richards. I don't think he did too much in this episode either.
Well, it was his plan, though, that defeated Diablo. Because he's the one who figured out Diablo's pony.
But, that's always a Reed Richards thing, to be skeptical about everything and to look into everything. I'd expect that from him. Maybe that's what it is. He's so consistent and he's just that good of a character that he's already on that level.
I think you're right. The Thing and Torch in this show so far, in the first 2 episodes, are the stars, even though Reed is the leader. They do handle Reed the way he is in the comics, where he is the one making the plans, where Johnny and Ben are the action.
And maybe that's why they've had such big roles too, because they probably are a little more fun to animate and draw.
Definitely. This is animation, not a comic book. I think you're absolutely right. I think that's what it is. They're confronting Diablo, and Thing is brainwashed, and they're going to leave, and Reed stretches his hand behind everybody and nobody notices, and he grabs the test tube.
I thought that was pretty funny. That was actually a nice little scene.
When Ben ties his hands in a knot, they looked great.
And then he's talking to Sue, and she's sitting there untying his hands, and she's like, you ought to be real happy with yourself, or something like that.
Yeah, she's like, you ought to be ashamed, Ben. It was a lot of fun. Thing had a very large part in this.
Yeah.
I think he was played mostly for comedy. There was a couple times where he was significantly threatening when he was defending Diablo from his friends, tying Reed's hand in a knot and then put Johnny out with sand. That was not the jovial thing that we'd had up to that point. In the end, when he was after Diablo, he breaks out of the supposedly unbreakable glass and then breaks through the wall on Diablo, and Diablo is so intimidated he don't even want to fight.
Yeah.
He basically just goes back into his hole.
I mean, I don't know what he expected. He called specifically Thing to come over and open the huge giant vault door, almost free him. I don't know why you don't expect him to just be able to burst either through that door or through the wall.
And then Torch is blocking Diablo off in one area, and then Diablo turns around and Thing goes, are you going to go through me? And it was like, okay, I surrender. I thought Thing was handled very well in here.
Thought, like I said, he'd probably play the biggest role in this episode. I don't dislike it. I definitely like that he is getting the bigger roles, because I feel like in the comics, he doesn't play as big of a part. That's where Reed Richards shines, is in the comics.
The animation when they were in the forest and they do the upshot on Thing, the artwork on that looked really, really good.
Like it could be like a nice still image or just straight from the comic. I definitely like the way he was handled with the new abilities. They're not abilities so much as like just the way they portray his fire, his flame, and his strong suits was the melting through the walls, and like I said, the lasso. That's probably really fun for them to animate. You can do stuff with Thing where it's like destroying the walls or destruction, stuff like that. But when it comes to like small moving parts like that, it takes a whole different like thought process, I guess.
I think the Torch is handled expertly in this. I like the fact that he's drawn very much like the Kirby Torch, hairstyle and everything. His melting effects are always great. You see him melting into the wall first. Then you see the wall melting on the other side and he comes out. It wasn't an explosion. When Thing broke through the wall, it was a second, right? Because he pounds it, it breaks.
Yeah.
Johnny, on the other hand, took his time going through because it's not just blowing out, it's melting. It was really cool looking. And I like at the end when they're like, okay, we're putting Diablo back in his pen. Johnny's the one who says, well, it's not going to be safe until you destroy the castle so that nobody can get back into Diablo's safe. He's the one that starts doing that. Reed agrees with him, and Johnny starts wrecking it, and of course, Ben jumps in. Johnny is given respect in this. I mean, he's not treated like a dumb kid.
Yeah, well, that's his character. No, he's supposed to be pretty smart for his age, too. He's, a mechanic and stuff like that before he was?
Right, he's a mechanic before he was the Human Torch. He could build anything.
Yeah.
He built the Fantasticar.
Well, there you go. See, he definitely has better than average thinking ability and just stuff like that. He had a very strong role.
I like the atmosphere of the episode. It did have a Universal horror movie feel from the 1930s and 40s.
Yeah.
There was real menace. It did look like the FF were going to lose. Diablo has taken the Thing as his bodyguard. He's taken the world. Then he uses that money to build up an army around his own castle. Never decides to repair the roof. But everything else he builds in that castle. Then when finally his potions are shown to be frauds, he's already got his protection.
He has everything he needed. I thought that was a nice addition, too, when they were saying, like, we want to stop him, but we can't because he hasn't really broken any law. For the most part, yeah, he was keeping it fairly tame, other than false imprisoning the mind controlling him or whatever. Other than that, he wasn't really doing much to give them reason. He seemed positive, like he didn't really want to or hurt anyone or take over the world. He just wanted self gain, I guess.
At that point, you can't hit him for brainwashing Ben because nobody could prove that.
Yeah.
Everything else he did, they asked him to do.
If it was Dr. Doom, he probably would have just been like, I'm going to brainwash the entire world into working for me. What he did was he kind of bribed everyone almost and gave them what they wanted so they would actually be cool for him, I guess.
Right, and then as soon as it turned out to be a fraud, that's when the Fantastic Four are allowed to act.
Yeah.
Because now it's a fraud. So let us go to our yay or nay on this brand new villain, at least brand new to you, Diablo. What did you think?
For a villain, I give him a strong yay. I definitely enjoyed the way he was portrayed. His design is amazing, and I'm told that it's different in the comics. I hope it's not different in the way that it's like more bland or just worse, because his design here is really good. I like it a lot.
I love this color scheme they used on him here. It is different than the color scheme in the comics. Here he is purple and orange. He has the Fu Manchu mustache. All of the look is the same. It's the color that's really different. I've always liked Diablo. He is a con man like the Miracle Man is, but he has higher aspirations. The thing is lying in the bed. He floats as a mist to Ben, just like Dracula would do, and then calls Ben under hypnosis because Ben says he can't control himself. He has to do it, right? Forces Ben to free him from the safe.
Yeah.
That, to me, that was a cool moment. That was very Diablo type effect.
Yeah. So I think this was good.
Now we will tie this up with the traditional question for this FF Media segment. Would this have inspired a young Ryan to watch the next episode if he saw this on a Saturday morning?
Yeah, I definitely would. It's engaging as a TV show, and also who doesn't like superheroes, especially as a kid?
With that then, be fantastic.